Hey everyone, I'm finally here for my Quantum Break strategy guide review, or should I say review of Quantum Break, The Secret History of Time Travel. The game is really linear, so you don't really need a strategy guide for that, but I really wanted to look through it for the collectibles. And I might have mentioned this before, but I had a pretty hard time with the final boss at the very end of this game, so I also wanted to see how the strategy was laid out for that. So I replayed through the entire game. I did all new choices this time to kind of see how things would go. Of course, I didn't watch the TV episodes. I may have to go back and see that because there were a lot of references like, oh, that was totally different from when I played the game for review. So I wanted to see if it would help me get all the collectibles. And the good thing is it did, but this is not a perfect guide by any stretch of the means. In fact, I have a really hard time even calling this a strategy guide. It's more of a behind the scenes book for Quantum Break, for Remedy Entertainment, with like, oh, by the way, here's how to get some stuff in the middle. And if that's what you want, that's great. But if you're looking for a pure strategy, it may let you down a little bit. Let's go on ahead. So like, I know I showed this in my unboxing video, like they have, there's a really extensive, history. Like there's a lot of good reading in this. Talking about, the history of Remedy. I really enjoyed reading all of this stuff. So on the history of Remedy, all the stuff that they worked on, before Quantum Break with some of the concept art and everything. It's great. It's fascinating. There's beautiful art in here. I really enjoyed reading all that. All the behind the scenes with Quantum Break. Just behind the scenes with each of the characters. I mean, that was all just, fantastic in here. It goes into, how they got into the sci-fi part of it. And that was all fascinating, but, oh, here, some people might be interested in this, how they did the mocap and actually bring the actors in. So, I mean, that was all very fascinating, but, I was here to look at the strategy guide part, and well, there were some issues. Now one thing I'll say, this the layout is very straightforward. I mean, it's a linear game, so you're not going to have a whole lot of deviation. There's some exploration for collectibles, but not very much, and so everything is pretty clear, as you can see. You can see here, it's all very clear and laid out. And then they have this middle box. The yellow doesn't really mean anything. It's just a way to divide it up. And they usually would mark it with where the collectibles were, any optionals, optional conversations. Although this one I thought was weird because up here they said optional to get a document, but that document's collectible, so that was actually kind of important, not really an optional to me. The one thing I really loved about it was that they would have all these little fun facts in there. This video shows scenes from a potential future project, Alan Wake Returns. They had a lot of stuff like that in there. A lot of, explanations of Alan Wake references or explanations of what was really going on. Like, if you've played the game, whenever Jack gets to when he breaks into Monarch Solutions, a train just kind of flies in there, and you think that maybe because of the way that time is breaking, that's why the train is going in, because all kinds of crazy stuff is happening. But the guide actually explains, his little fun fact that the reason why that train is there is because Monarch Solutions used to be, the Monarch Solutions building is on a site for a train station. So because time keeps going back and forth, that's why that train keeps coming in and disappearing. So that was really kind of cool information that wasn't exactly clear in the game. Now I can say, thanks to this, I was able to get every single chronon source. Some of them, are kind of hidden a little out of the way that I couldn't find, but in some I'm pretty convinced I just did not look for them, because like I would get to certain levels and it's like you've only gotten 2 chronon sources and there's 10 in here, and they're all in very simple places. I just didn't do the search because you have to do time vision to search for them, and I just didn't do that. I was probably so focused on getting through. Now there were a number of mistakes in this guide, which I wrote them down. Like, for example, like early on there was this one collectible I could not find And it was driving me crazy because the cool thing is about the game is that you can open up the timeline. It actually has all the collectibles and it shows you exactly where they are on the timeline. So you can see, oh, I found this one and this one, but not this one in between. So you know it's going to be in there. And see if I, okay. All right, so see up here, it says, you know, there's the Paul Serene focus article. And also the same thing is down here. Oops. Yeah, there you go. It's the exact same one. Thing is, that's not correct, and that's what took me so hard to find. So it referenced the same collectible twice, and it took me a while to figure out exactly where. Like, I basically ran all around this room and did a lot of time vision. No, you can't do time vision. That's why I couldn't find it, and just going up to everything to see what I could touch. And it was this one little bitty collectible in the corner that there's no way I would have found, and it's not in the guide because even the guide, the images here are all focusing on the same article or the same document. So that was not helpful. There's also, so what I didn't realize was that a great number of collectibles in this game will only appear if you make certain choices. So like in the very beginning of the game, you got this choice if you're going to do a hardline approach, which means just kill all the witnesses, or if you're going to try to use the witnesses to do a PR spin. Well, the first time I played, I did a PR spin. The second time, I wanted to see what happened if you killed them all. Well, whole new collectibles open up if you select kill all the witnesses. And so, and in the guide, sometimes they mentioned that was a specific junction collectible, and many other times they did not. So it was about, see, how many references did I have? About 6 different times I found there was collectibles that were not junction specific. And that kind of stuff is important. I think it's cool that you had to play the game twice to get all the collectibles, but in a strategy guide, that stuff needs to be mentioned. Now, the final boss fight. One thing I will say is that at least the guide kind of explained a little bit of the boss fight. So what was going on, because there was a lot in that was just like, I was basically, I don't understand what's going on. Why do I keep dying? And talked to other friends like, oh yeah, that was not explained at all. But, you know, this section right here, I think a little bit, oh yeah, over here, is all that they have for the boss fight. And it doesn't even have the different phases. It just says, yeah, the first wave he brings in this, second wave brings in this, but it doesn't mention, because the final boss, he'll throw out this time blast. You don't understand what it is or what it does or how you can even fight against it. And it kind of doesn't really explain, just says run away from it. Well, this, after you get rid of the first wave of enemies, the final boss throws about 3 or 4 of those, and it's just so hard to get away from them. And it doesn't even mention that or give any tips on run this and then activate this one-time ability here or do this time ability here. It doesn't have any of that. So that's kind of, I mean, kind of disappointing. I was really hoping maybe it could really give some tips, especially, like, I can't imagine playing this on hard. You got to get tips for playing this on hard, because this game, it gets so incredibly difficult, the higher difficulties, and there's no tips for how to play hard, like how, you know, which abilities to upgrade first, which ones to focus on, especially if you're playing on harder difficulties. You know, which types of guns should you focus on because you get more ammo with this one or with that one, or which ones these enemies are more susceptible to. There's nothing like that. So, I mean, this is really more of an information book than a strategy book, to be totally honest. And then you get to the back and it's got, like, you know, all the optional storytelling, like how it tells the story, which is all through the collectibles, which is why I was looking for them so hard. You know, more stuff on, you know, behind the scenes for creation, you know, creating the digital show, well, oh, all the unused stuff, which is actually fascinating to read, I'll give it that. And, you know, more information about, oh, that's spoiler territory, more information about a super hardcore spoiler that wasn't really explained very well. And then if you notice, my favorite thing is not in the back, and that is the achievements. You know, I ask at least you list them. And most of the achievements are very straightforward. They're like, you make this choice, you make that choice, you upgrade this, you find all the collectibles, you finish on hard, you finish on normal, stuff like that. But there's a few that are like, you know, stop time for, I think it was like 5 minutes in a row, which you have to do various powers. And there's another one about, you know, getting so many headshots by doing dodge rolls, or sorry, time dodge focus. At least, you know, if you're not going to offer tips, at least list them out, you know, and put a big spoiler setting on it, because some of them have to do with choices that you make. Although if you have this, I mean, you're obviously going to have some spoilers. So this was a really hard one, because on the one hand, like, it's useful information, a lot of mistakes, but again, I can't call this a strategy guide. It's an information book. And as such, this one, as beautiful as it is, even though much information as it has, as far as a strategy guide, it gets a 2.5 out of 5. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed playing Quantum Break. I enjoyed both of my playthroughs through it, and I do recommend the game. I recommend the guide if you're really into all the information and the history behind Remedy, but as for strategy, not so much. Thanks, guys.